All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Dan Murphy. I am the Digital Communications Specialist here with Brown Pre-College Programs, and I am going to be your MC this evening. I'm excited to have you here and joining us this evening, wherever you are from. So a little bit of an overview of what we are going to do this evening. I'm going to provide a very brief overview of the Brown Pre-College Programs, go over a little bit about how to apply, and then I'm going to introduce our guests to speak with you about our STEM courses and our course-based research experience courses as well. We will then end with a Q&A, a live question and answer, and this should take about 30 minutes or so. This session will be recorded, so if you want to come back and watch it, or you know someone who wanted to be here but couldn't make it, it will be recorded and posted on our YouTube page and on our website up to within the next week or so. Also, if you need closed captioning, that is available for you this evening. So if you click on the CC button at the bottom of your screen, you can turn on the closed captioning for this session. There we go. Some housekeeping things. So for the live Q&A, we will be taking questions. So throughout the presentation today, please submit any questions you have using the Q&A chat function at the bottom of your screen. You can send them in at any point, and we will try to answer as many as we can this evening. And then, as always, I like to remind people all of the information we're going to be presenting this evening is available on our website at precollege.brown.edu. So if you've not taken a chance yet after this webinar, definitely take a moment to review our website and all of the information that is on there. So to start us off this evening, here's a very brief overview of the Brown Pre-College program. So each year we welcome more than 6,000 high school students who choose to spend part of their summer with us, exploring over 300 courses that reflect our open curriculum here at Brown. I believe we are at about 350, 360 courses so far for this summer. Our program replicates the freedom and responsibility of the real college experience. So if you choose to come to Brown Pre-College this summer, you'll balance the challenge of college-level academics with the enriching social activities that are available wherever you choose to study. Tonight, we are going to specifically be discussing our STEM and course-based research experiences. These courses are part of the Summer at Brown and Summer at Brown online programs, which are open to students completing grades 9 through 12, ages 14 to 18 by June 18th, 2023. I know we received some questions beforehand about, eligibility of ages. So we do also provide STEM programs for rising 9th and 10th graders via our STEM 9-10 program, but tonight's info session will focus on all of our STEM and CRE courses. Regardless of which program you choose or that you are interested in, the first step in your pre-college experience is completing our application. Our application is designed to mirror the common application, which is used by many colleges and universities. So in our way, our application process will actually help prepare you for the college application process, including adding your transcripts and thinking through and crafting an essay based on a unique writing prompt. Our 2023 application is now open. Our regular admission deadline is May 12th. On our website, you can also find our application checklist by clicking on the Apply button at the top of our website. We also like to remind people that when you are applying to Brown Pre-College, you are applying to Brown Pre-College as a whole. So first, you're going to apply to Brown Pre-College. Once you are admitted, you would then go in and enroll in a course, whether that is a STEM course, a CRE course, a Bell, whichever have you. That is when you would go in and select that. So just as a reminder. And just note that you must meet the age and grade eligibility requirements to be able to enroll in a course. So now I'm excited to introduce our two guests this evening to talk a little bit more about STEM and our CRE courses. So I'm going to bring out our guest, Abbey Aevazelis, who is the Director of STEM Programs, and Karen Haberstroh, who's the Associate Director of Engineering Programs with Brown Pre-College. But first, we'll introduce Abbey. Hi, Abbey.
Hi, Dan. It's great to see you, and welcome to all the families who are here with us today and to all the students particularly. Really pleased to get a chance to talk with you. My name is Abbey Aevazelis. I use she, her pronouns, and I focus particularly on the STEM courses, the science, technology, and math courses within Summer at Brown. And you'll hear from my colleague Karen in just a minute, who will focus on the engineering. And then I also run and coordinate our STEM for rising 9th and 10th graders. So as Dan mentioned, there are recordings of info sessions that have already happened. And then we have a STEM 910 recording that is available for you if you're curious about learning more about that program. And I'd like to turn it over to my colleague Karen to introduce herself. Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, Abby, and thanks, Dan. As Abby mentioned, my name is Karen Haberstroh, and I'm the Associate Director of Engineering Programs within pre-college. So I focus, I should mention I use she, her pronouns. I focus on the engineering course offerings, which take place predominantly within Summer at Brown. We have online course offerings and also on-campus course offerings. And then we also have courses that take place within the STEM for Rising 9th and 10th graders program, which Abby mentioned. So we do have a few engineering courses there as well. I'm really excited to have everyone here today and to tell you a little bit about the STEM course offerings broadly and give you a few examples from the engineering curriculum specifically. And we'll get started. So I'm going to send it back to Dan.
Great. Thank you, Karen. So Karen, we're actually going to start with you. How do pre-college courses mirror the courses in the Brown undergraduate program?
That is a great question, Dan. And I guess I will start out saying, I didn't mention this when I introduced myself, but I actually was a Brown undergrad. And so I'm very familiar with the Brown curriculum and specifically the open curriculum at Brown. So the open curriculum at Brown is actually one of the hallmarks of Brown's undergraduate programs. And it really refers to the fact that students don't have to take a set of core classes prior to graduation like they do at many other universities across the country. Instead, students work to develop a personalized course of study. So they choose specifically what they want to study, and they have the flexibility to discover what they love through the courses that they choose to take over their time as an undergrad. Brown also really values students taking advantage of the breadth and depth of its course offerings. So just as an example, I was, as I mentioned, an undergraduate student. I studied engineering. I was encouraged to take classes in art history, economics, and so on. And for me and for other students, the exciting thing is that you're taking these courses with world-renowned experts in those specific fields. Courses at Brown, I would say broadly, are also very interdisciplinary, and they often tie in with graduate and faculty research. And finally, I think, and especially in STEM courses at Brown, there's a lot of hands-on project-based and group learning. So really, when you think about our undergraduate classes, a lot of the philosophy and also the style of teaching is mirrored in our pre-college offerings as well. They also exist over a really wide range of topical areas. Many exist across multiple disciplines, so they're very interdisciplinary in nature. We encourage students to explore all of the offerings and to look through the catalog and find a course that really speaks to them, which may be something that they had never thought about taking before. Our courses, much like courses at Brown at the undergraduate level, they're taught by faculty and grad students who are really leaders in their fields and who are so passionate about what it is that they study, and they are excited to share that knowledge with the pre-college students in the summer. I think another important point is that the pre-college courses focus on exposure to a field and not on mastery, but they are still really rigorous, and they encourage independent thinking and learning, just like the undergrad courses at Brown do. So in this way, they really help prepare students for a college environment, for college learning, whether they choose to study at Brown in the future or anywhere across the country or really in the world. And I think the final point to make is that courses are non-credit bearing, and students receive a certificate of completion if they're successful in that course at the end of, whether it's a week-long course or a 3 or 4 week-long course.
Great, thank you. So Abby, I'm going to switch over to you. So with so many STEM courses, and it sounds really exciting, like what should a student consider when looking at our catalog?
Thanks, Dan. So you're right, 350 plus courses. How do you decide? Well, I think the first thing you really want to do is play around with our course catalog. The nice thing with our course catalog is that you can filter by program. So for example, we're talking about summer at Brown. So we'd recommend you filter by summer at Brown for the program. You can filter by subject area, by date in terms of when you're available. So what's a start date that would work for you? How long of a course are you interested in? 1 week, 2 week, 3 week, or longer? And then format. Are you thinking about online, hybrid, or in person? So if you try a search and you find it's too narrow or too large, adjust your filters and try again. Another thing you can do is you can actually try typing a keyword into the search bar and you'll get various results. So for example, DNA returns 5 courses. Many more courses will cover that material, but the search term DNA will return 5 courses. Genetics returns 10. Hands-on will give you 17. Experiments you find 25. If you want to find the course-based research experiences that we'll be talking about tonight, we recommend, and as the screen shows you, we recommend you type in course-based into the search bar at the top of the course catalog, and you'll find all 9 of our offerings displayed together. There are 9 offerings because 7 of them are hybrid, which we'll discuss, and 2 of them are online. So really, we recommend you play around with words and see, think about words that are important to you, things you're passionate about. Is it activism? Is it, learning different concepts? Put them in the search feature and see what comes up. The other thing to think about, and this my colleague Karen alluded to as well, what are you excited about studying? What are you passionate about? How do you feel the information you learn will help you grow or even change the world? So those are the types of things you want to explore. Consider the type of experience. Are you looking for a hands-on or a seminar style class? Do you want to be in a laboratory or a workshop environment? Do you want to conduct research? Are you interested in producing a final product or presentation that will showcase your learning because you could use it back at your homeschool environment? So find a few courses that resonate with you, things you'd say are your perfect fit, and then don't throw them out the window, but go outside the box, right? We really want you to challenge you to look for courses that are adjacent to the area that you think you're interested in. As Karen indicated, a lot of our courses are multidisciplinary. And so thinking through courses that are just next to courses you think you want will actually stretch your learning or understanding of what you enjoy and what you're really interested in. And if you're open to pursuing new material, you may actually find a whole new discipline that you fall in love with. And then if the course that you want is full, don't limit yourself by just sitting on a wait list and hoping for a spot to open. Really find a second or a third choice that you're just as excited about. And with over 300 courses in the Summer Brown catalog, you've got so many options to choose from. If you are interested in exploring elements within humanities, look for courses like physics and philosophy, right? So think through courses that really show you either in the title or the course description that they're going to broaden what you're thinking about. So logic and reasoning, for example, lots of ways that you can approach different types of topics all together in one course. And then if you have questions about specific courses, our wonderful team of program advisors are here to help you navigate the catalog and even help you narrow down some options.
Wow. There's a lot of options out there. And I think that's one of the strengths of the program is that there's a lot of modalities, there's a lot of topics to cover and thinking through, do you want to do new research or think through research versus, just, introducing yourself to a new topic and exploring that for the summer. So thank you, Abbey. So Karen, back to you. What would an online STEM course look like for a student and how would they engage in the material?
That is a great question, Dan. First, just in terms of logistics, our online classes range from 2 to 6 weeks in length, and they're actually offered in 3 different modalities. So we have courses that are what we call asynchronous, mostly asynchronous, and then blended. While all of the classes, regardless of modality, will give you a chance to engage daily with your instructor, I would suggest that you consider these modalities when you choose a class. So if you're looking for a lot of independence and the ability to customize your own day-to-day schedule, you should choose asynchronous. If you're looking for primarily asynchronous content, but with a few opportunities to attend live sessions that are optional, that would be run by your instructor each week, we would suggest that you look at courses that are mostly asynchronous. And then finally, if you want a course which requires live sessions, so those are live sessions that will take place within the course with other students in the class, with the instructor, and they're required for you to attend at a very specific time, we would ask you to look for courses that are what we call blended. Regardless of the modality, you're going to work very closely with your instructor and likely a TA as well for the duration of the course. There'll be office hours, there's independent reading material, you'll have assignments, discussions, you'll have group work, and importantly, a lot of the features of the online classes, including things like the group work, will allow you to interact with and meet with students from all over the world. Our online STEM classes are also unique in that they involve hands-on projects. So there are actually experiments and hands-on projects, prototypes that you'll be building, and you'll do these with at-home materials, simple materials that you can find at your own home. So that's a really kind of unique and fun aspect of our online classes. An important note, I would say, for all of the online classes is that you'll get as much out of the class as you put into it. So if you choose to engage comprehensively, if you're in that course on a daily basis, that will really set the tone for the class, both for you, but also for the other students as well. And finally, I would say if you choose to take an online class, I would personally encourage you to reach out to your instructor and to get to know them better. So I would say go to office hours. They'll have Zoom office hours for those online classes. Talk to them about their research. You can certainly talk to them about the content of the course, but talk to them about their research as well. Ask for additional resources so that you can learn more about the topics that are taught in the course, but also things that they might be doing in their lab. This is really, in my opinion, a great chance for you to network and to make long-lasting connections beyond just that online class.
Yeah. And that last point is really, I think, impactful. As someone who's taken online courses, getting to know your faculty, even though it's online, will have a huge impact on, I think, your experience. So great. Thank you, Karen. Abbey, are there opportunities for students to do research this summer?
So I would say the current course catalog has many STEM courses that have elements of research type experiences built in. And I'll clarify what I mean by that in a second. So for example, a lot of laboratory work allows for students to gain experience conducting experiments, gaining exposure to lab methods. And those courses, they fall into an inquiry-based model that model the research process. So that's research-like courses, but the projects are predetermined by the instructors. And I know we focused a little bit around what sounds kind of like the biology, biotechnology, laboratory, wet lab science. But I want to also call out, we've got an amazing portfolio of courses in physical science, computer science, really think anything through physics, geology, chemistry, computer-based engineering, as Karen's talked about. So there's all of those courses as well. And they allow you to design experiments, create your own code, use software such as MATLAB or CAD to really possibly design or build. So there's a lot of different opportunities for you to think through the research process, and in a lot of those cases, it's things that your instructor is helping to guide you and you know what you're working on. If, however, you're interested in conducting your own independent research, and so this takes it to the next level, we have a suite of offerings that are titled course-based research experiences, or CREs. So CREs allow students to take a deep dive into a particular area of interest. They work closely with an instructor to design and conduct their own independent work. What this means is that you're working on a project that is unknown to science. There's no published data or research out there about the topic that you're working on. You typically would present your findings at the end of the course. And for some students, this might be the start of a more advanced science fair or competition entry, or maybe useful for a college application portfolio. So we have these CRE offerings, the course-based research experience offerings, in both the on-campus and the online spaces. So online, there are 2 CREs that fall into that blended modality that my colleague Karen discussed a moment ago. And anybody who's eligible for summer at Brown pre-college, so rising 10th through 12th graders, 14 through 18 years old, would be eligible to take the online CREs. If you are interested in taking an on-campus CRE class, they fall into a very different model. It's a hybrid model where you spend the first 2 weeks online working with your instructor and the peers in the course in that blended format. And then you come to campus to conduct the rest of your research project in person along with the peers that you'd already met in class. And for those hybrid CREs, you have to be 16. So 16 plus for those hybrid on-campus CREs. And remember, to see the full list of the 9 research offerings that we have, please type course-based into the course catalog, and you can see all 9 of them that come right up.
Great, thank you. So switching gears a little bit from the academic side, Karen, what do students do when they are not in class?
So that is a really great question. There are a lot of hours left in the day outside of the 3 hours that they're in their class. And so I'll talk a little bit about the sorts of things that students do. I would say first and foremost, students will be eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner with their classmates and friends that they have met from all over the world. And they'll do that in the dining hall. That ends up being a very, very fun part of the student's day. Outside of class time can also be used for things like office hours, homework. They can meet with class groups. I talked about some of those projects that they'll be doing with their class groups. They might use that time to read. All in all, they should expect to have about 2 to 3 hours of homework per night, some of which might be work that is building towards a final class project, for example. Note that some of our Summer Brown classes actually have a final project, some of them don't. So if you do know that you want a class that is project-based, many of the engineering classes are, for example, I would definitely pay attention to that in the course descriptions when you go through the catalog that Abbey talked about a little bit earlier. Outside of the academic work, so I mentioned in-class time, homework time, there are also a range of extracurricular activities that are planned by the student life team that the students can take advantage of. They actually happen at all hours of the day. There's activities in the morning, afternoon, and evening. So it really doesn't matter when during the day the students take a class, as there will be extracurricular activities for students to choose from at all the other times during the day as well. Some events are tied to the academic experience. So as an example, there are career panels, there are lab tours, but other events will cover topics like college success, identity workshops, and there are also activities that might take place out on the green, different sorts of just fun sort of sporting activities, outdoor movies, trips to the beach, things along those lines. And I would say also, like for me, thinking about some of the most fun times that I had at Brown as a student, which I know also is one of the things that the pre-college students share is really fun, is just relaxing on the green. There are so many beautiful greens on Brown's campus, and taking advantage of the beautiful summer weather and relaxing on the green. One really important point that I want to make is that out of all the activities that I just mentioned, the majority of those activities, and certainly thinking about the extracurricular activities, are not required of the students. So students are not required to, for example, take part in, some of the outdoor movies or the panels and so on. And so really, again, a theme that I want to sort of push to the students that are listening is that you will get out of the experience what you put into it. So the more that you engage and the more that you take part in these activities, the more that you'll get out of the summer experience. And finally, the last thing I want to mention is that all of the students will have required floor meetings in the evenings, where the groups will check in with the RA and they'll learn strategies for success in a learning and living environment.
Yeah, great. There's definitely a lot to do. And I echo what you say, Karen. You're not required to do everything, but there's a lot of options and you get out of it what you put into it. So thank you. So now we're going to switch over to the Q&A portion. It looks like we've gotten quite a few questions throughout the presentation. So if you have any, now's the time to drop them in the Q&A function below. We'll try to get to as many as we possibly can. Obviously, we won't be able to answer every question, but before we end tonight, I will give you our contact information so that if we didn't answer your question or you have lingering questions, you can reach out to us. So we did also get some questions pre-submitted. So I'm going to start with one of those. So Karen, can you clarify the difference between STEM 910 and Summer at Brown STEM courses?
Yeah, that's actually a great question. So as far as content is concerned, STEM courses within Summer at Brown and within STEM for rising 9th and 10th graders can actually look pretty similar. So you'll find, just as an example, engineering classes, biology classes, math classes, and so on within both Summer at Brown and the second program you've alluded to, which is STEM for rising 9th and 10th graders. There are a few things that I would say, we've spent a lot of time talking about Summer at Brown, so I want to highlight a few things that make STEM 9-10 or STEM for rising 9th and 10th graders really unique. First, in order to join the STEM for Rising 9th and 10th grade program, you have to be, as the name suggests, a rising 9th or 10th grader. And really, this is done intentionally. The program is geared towards our youngest audience. And as such, we actually provide a lot more structure in any given day within the STEM for Rising 9th and 10th grade program. So I mentioned a minute ago about all those extracurricular activities that happen in Summer at Brown and that you have your choice about what you take part in. STEM for Rising 9th and 10th graders is a little different. There are still lots of activities that take place outside of the course time, but those activities are going to be taken part in as a cohort. So you'll be attending field trips, workshops, eating as a cohort together in a much more structured environment. Second, I would say all of the STEM for Rising 9th and 10th graders courses are 2 weeks long, and they're centered around a research project. So they're all going to be focused on some sort of a research project, which will culminate with a showcase, a presentation at the end of those 2 weeks. So just to give you one example, there's a course called Engineering Design Studio within STEM for Rising 9th and 10th graders. Students actually spend 2 weeks learning about the engineering design process, and then they apply that knowledge to their own unique design challenge that they're presented with. Last year, the challenge was the design and construction of a foldable piece of furniture. So students actually walked through the engineering design process, they brainstormed, they prototyped, they tested their designs, they actually built their designs, and they also studied the math and physics behind their design and used this to predict whether their actual design was stable, and they were able to test that at the end. And as I mentioned, they're able to actually present that as a showcase to their families at the end of those 2 weeks. So all of the STEM for Rising 9th and 10th graders are going to focus around a project like the one I just mentioned for Engineering Design Studio.
Nice. Awesome. Thank you. Abby, we have quite a few questions around this. I'm going to synthesize it into one question, which is, do students need to have prior research experience to take any of the CRE courses or the CRE courses?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And the nice answer is no. So really what we're looking for is we're looking for students who are passionate, dedicated, enthusiastic, and they're willing to really give it their all and jump into this material and learn it. Again, there is an age requirement for the CRE courses on campus. You'd have to be 16 plus. So that does assume that you have a certain amount of background, general background material broadly across the STEM disciplines. But really, if you are interested, you're passionate, and you demonstrate resiliency, which means that you really show that you are willing to put in the effort, you try hard, and if your experiment fails, which it might, you're okay, and you work with your instructor and you pick it back up and you continue and you build and you learn and you grow. So it's really a lot about just demonstrating resilience and really working and trying hard. But again, there is that age requirement for on campus. So if you're under 16 at the time of our programs, and you want to do this research, we encourage you to look at the 2 CREs that are happening in the online space.
Great, thank you. So Karen, kind of similar, we're getting a lot of questions similar to this. So this is me synthesizing all of them. Do most of the STEM courses have prerequisites? So we get a lot of students asking, do they have to have prior lab or design or coding, et cetera, experience to take some of these STEM courses?
Yeah, that is absolutely something that students want to pay attention to when they're looking through the course catalog. Some of our classes, STEM courses specifically, do have prerequisites. Those are noted in the course description in the catalog. So just as an example, there's an advanced CAD class, which has a prereq of either completion of our Brown's pre-college intro CAD class, or also, a way to satisfy the prereq is to have done 25 hours of CAD work on your own. It could be through your high school or just self-study. So the idea with all of these prereqs, that was just one example, but the idea is that we want to set you up for success in these classes. So the content that's going to be taught in the class is going to assume that you have a certain amount of knowledge coming into the class, and the instructor is not going to teach that foundational material based on whatever those prereqs are. So it's really just a way to set you up for success in the class and to make sure that you have a great experience when you're in that class. If you are looking for courses that are more introductory level and don't have those prereqs, we certainly offer those as well. Again, you'll be able to see that when you look through the course catalog and specifically look at the prereqs that are offered there. So definitely pay attention to, does it require coding experience? Does it require that I have wet lab experience, and so on? There are some courses that do and some courses that don't, and you want to make sure you find the right fit based on your specific background. If you're ever unsure after reading the course description, reading the catalog, I would say reach out to our program advisors so that they can guide you and make sure that you're in the class that really is best suited for you.
Great, thank you. So I just want to be mindful of time. So we're going to take 2 final questions. So the first one, and I can kind of answer this, but Karen and Abby, jump in if you have anything to add. So how many courses do students take at a time? Can I take more than one course? I think simultaneously taking courses, we don't encourage students to take more than one course at the exact same time, just due to the course commitments, outside coursework. If you want to take subsequent courses, so like a 1-2 week course, do that, complete it, and then take another 2-week course that you qualify for after that, absolutely go for it. And if you have any questions about specific courses, like, is it possible to do X with Y, just send an email to us and our program advisors can kind of walk you through like if that's possible or not. But in general, subsequent at the same time courses, we encourage students to avoid taking those.
Dan, can I jump in with one note that's that will help solidify for folks who are sitting here thinking like, well, I could do it. I could totally take 2 courses at a time. I take 6 courses in school right now. Mm-hmm. Our courses run for 3 hours a day for 5 days a week for the number of weeks that you're with us on campus. If you're taking an on-campus offering, online falls into the modalities Karen mentioned before. And then in addition to that 3 hours a day, there's also an expectation of 2 to 3 hours of homework or out of course work that supports the course every single day as well. And of course, the research-based courses would have even more intensive work that would need to be fit in. So there just isn't time in the day for you to take more than one class at the same time if you're looking to enjoy anything other than the library, really. So, or a study space. So I want to just kind of highlight that for you.
Thank you, Abby. So our final question, Karen, this one's for you. You mentioned office hours a few times. What are office hours and like what do students do there?
Yeah, that is a really good question. And I think, I have teenage kids at home, and office hours, at least in our high school, my kids' high school, is just not something that is used, at least not the terminology. So I think the idea of office hours probably is foreign to a lot of people that are on the call. So the idea is, first of all, it's not necessarily an hour. It could actually be 2 hours long. It just depends on that specific course and instructor. And it typically would take place either through Zoom or in some sort of a public space. It's a chance for you to go and to meet with your instructor and also, hopefully, other students in the class to do actually a range of things. You don't actually have to have a specific course question to go to office hours, although you can. So students can go and they can ask questions about the course content if there's something they're curious about or confused about. But again, you can just go to introduce yourself and to say hi and to ask, what do they do besides their class? Like, what's their research? What sorts of things do they do when they're not teaching you in the class during the day? You can ask them about career paths. You can ask them about how you go about applying to undergrad programs, about how you can choose what discipline is the best fit for you. As I said, you can really just go to say hello and not even have a specific list of questions or agenda in mind. The idea is that this is an opportunity for you to meet in a group, a small group, really get to know that instructor on a more personal level and get to know and answer the questions that you might have, to network, to really be curious and to engage in a more meaningful way. So I would definitely encourage all the students to take advantage of office hours. It's a great opportunity outside of class time.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. So I know we didn't get to everyone's questions this evening. We got a lot of great questions. I do want to reiterate, because there were quite a few questions about, costs and scholarships, financial aid. All of that actually can be found on our website at the very top. You'll find costs and aid right there. And if you click on that, you can kind of break through different courses and programs and see all of that. So highly recommend that. So before you go, we like to encourage everyone to follow us on social media. We're pretty active. We like to showcase the student experience. We are also on TikTok now, so feel free to follow us on TikTok. But if you have any additional questions or lingering questions, or anything comes to you as you're trying to select a course, definitely send us an email at precollege@brown.edu, or give us a call during business hours, which is 8:30 to 4:30, Monday through Friday. And one of our programming advisors will get back to you. Our programming advisors are the encyclopedias of our office. They really know the ins and outs of the programs, courses, selection, and so they can definitely walk you through and help you make the best of this experience for yourself. So, but thank you again. We greatly appreciate you taking some time to spend with us this evening. Thank you for the great questions. And again, if you have any follow-up questions, please reach out to us. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.